It's now time for Remember When with Uncle John. John Guess, Ouachita County's resident storyteller and local historian. Sit back now and enjoy a walk down memory lane as John recalls the days of yesteryear in his own unique way. You never know, some of it might even be true. So here's Uncle John, along with his trusty sidekick, Kelly Blair.
Back on Remember When with Uncle John. Well, here we are at the mid part of the week, but on this show right here, that means it is Wassailing Wednesday on the Remember When with Uncle John show. Who you want to talk about today, Johnny?
Well, we got us a birthday boy today.
Hey, there you go. Love birthday boys.
Well, you know, today's my birthday, too.
What?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
No, today's my birthday, man.
Well, how's it feel to be 49?
It feels pretty good.
Yeah, there you go.
But today, Stu Hart would have been 108 years old.
Holy cow.
Yeah, born May the 3rd, 1915. You know, Stu Hart is the matriarch of one of the great wrestling families of all time.
Yes, sir.
You know, all of his boys became wrestlers. You know, he had 12 kids.
That's amazing.
All of his boys became wrestlers, and all of his girls married wrestlers.
Married wrestlers. That is amazing.
You know, the guy done it all, though, you know. He was, you know, he's from Canada. You know, he was born in Saskatoon.
All right.
And, you know, they migrated to Calgary. But, you know, he was an amateur. He was a professional wrestler, a booker, promoter, coach, trainer, great football player, and a sailor. You know, he was a great sailor.
Okay.
He was in the Canadian Navy.
I had no idea.
Yeah. But, you know, the guy, everybody that you talk about in wrestling that ever went to Calgary, you know, they talk about the Stu Hart Dungeon.
Dungeon, yep, that's
you
it.
You know, he was a promoter up there, Stampede Wrestling.
He was an old hooker.
And that's right. You know, Dr. D, David Schultz, one of the toughest guys of all time. You know, spent some time up there.
Yeah, fights bears with pocket knives and everything. He didn't want none of Stu Hart.
He didn't want none of Stu Hart. Everybody told you, you know, you had that. And there's so many wrestlers that can imitate him.
Yeah.
That can talk like him, you know. He talked kind of goofy, you know. But he'd get you down there in that dungeon, and he'd stretch you.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That's what we mean by the hooking, folks. It's not any kind of, you know, paying for sexual acts or anything like that, for crying out loud. No, these guys would, like, hook your arm behind your head and down around your hip where it's not supposed to go, and your leg is up here where your ear is. And, yeah, no, it's not good.
Ken Patera said the man could actually make you cry.
No doubt.
And, you know, he wasn't very big. He was 5'11", weighed about 230 pounds.
But he could twist you around like Stretch Armstrong.
But they had that dungeon down there in the basement at the Hart House where he done all the training. And you know, he didn't matter how big you are. Superstar Billy Graham, one of the greatest physiques in all of wrestling, said, man, he could twist you up like a pretzel.
Yeah, none of that
and you
matters.
didn't realize it was happening until it was too late.
Yeah, none of that matters when you're tied in a knot all of a sudden.
And you know, he was one of the great promoters. You know, everybody that was anybody, you know, wanted to go to Canada. He was very, very fair on his payoffs. Always took care of his wrestlers. Always was one to give the fans what they wanted. Always had plenty of everything that everybody wanted. Good matches, good wrestlers. The territory was brutal because it was Canada.
Yes.
And you know, it was you know, during the bad parts of the year and everything. But people would come out. You know, you didn't, very seldom was there ever a match canceled because of weather. But he was just a double tough guy that knew how to do what he did. He debuted in 1943 and didn't retire till 1986.
Isn't that amazing?
You know, but you know, he even later on in life, people were careful not to get too close to him.
Yeah.
Because you know, he could twist you up.
Well, you know, he's one of those guys like Danny Hodge. You know, he could just take an apple or a pair of pliers and just break it with his bare hands. I mean, he was just one of those guys, had that tendon strength and everything.
Right. And you know, how do you compete with a guy like that?
Yeah, you don't. Yeah,
it doesn't
stay
matter.
out of the ring, stay out of the dungeon.
You know, you can stand toe to toe with somebody and stare up at them if they're 7 foot tall. You know, and you know what you got to do. You know, but somebody like that's average size, you don't give much credit to. until it's too late.
Well, obviously, the father of Bret the Hitman Hart, who went on to be multiple-time world champion, and a lot of people will put in the top 5 greatest wrestlers, especially there in the 90s. I think you got to break it down by decades or eras or whatever you want to call it. But Bret Hart was one of the best, and you didn't have to go very far to see right where he got that from. Right. Owen Hart was outstanding.
Davey Boy Smith was his son-in-law.
Yeah, son-in-law. You know, I mean,
yeah.
So it went a long, long way.
Jim the Anvil Neidhart was a son-in-law.
Son-in-law.
So that's where they all got it from. But today would have been his birthday. He would have been 108 years old today. Passed away in 2003 at age 88. And I've heard a lot. I've saw a lot of comments where at 88 years old, I wouldn't have tried him.
Nope, still wouldn't have. Not at all. Hey, that's going to wrap up Remember When with Uncle John for today. But we do want to thank ProMed Ambulance Service, Sherwin-Williams House Paint, and the Shopper's Guide for sponsoring our wonderful little show here. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow, John.
And by the way, if anybody wants to contribute to my birthday, holler at me, and I'll come by and pick the cash up.
What? How many times? 49 now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You've been listening to Remember When with Uncle John on Y95. This broadcast can be heard each weekday morning at 6:45 on South Arkansas's favorite station, Y95.